At the party, my parents publicly thanked my sister for everything I did. "We're so proud of her achievements," they said, pointing to what I built. I laughed. "Actually, that was all me." My sister nodded. "It's true." My parents' smiles faded instantly. I should have seen it coming. The favoritism, the dismissals, the way my parents always had a special shine in their eyes when they looked at my sister, Melanie, while I was just there. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for that night. The night I finally snapped. The house was buzzing with laughter, clinking glasses, and the artificial warmth of people who only showed up when there was something to celebrate. A catered event, crystal glasses, that kind of gathering. I stood near the back of the room, watching my father raise his drink as the crowd quieted down. "We are beyond proud," he started, his voice thick with admiration, "of our wonderful, talented daughter, Melanie. Her dedication, intelligence, and hard work have made this company what it is today. We couldn't be more thrilled to see her success." A wave of applause. I blinked. Once. Twice. I glanced at Melanie, who stood next to my mother. She shifted uncomfortably. Because she knew. I built the company. I put in the hours. I stayed up late, sweating through investor calls and coding till my fingers cramped. But now it was her success? A dry chuckle escaped my lips before I could stop it. I watched as my mother clutched Melanie's hand, eyes glistening with pride. "She's just always been so brilliant, hasn't she?" she added with a soft laugh. "We always knew she would do something extraordinary." Something inside me snapped. "Actually," I said, voice light but cutting through the noise, "that was all me." The room went still. I could feel the heat of every pair of eyes turning toward me. A few whispered. Some exchanged glances. Melanie, God bless her, gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "It's true," she murmured. And that's when the warmth drained from my parents' faces. Their proud little facade cracked. Just a little. Just enough for me to see the horror behind their eyes. My father's grip tightened around his glass. My mother's smile faltered into something like confusion, then annoyance. I didn't move. Didn't look away. If they wanted to erase me, I was going to make damn sure they did it while looking me in the eye. I should explain something. My name is Dean. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent most of my life living in my sister's shadow. Melanie is 3 years younger than me. She's beautiful, charismatic, the kind of person who walks into a room and makes everyone fall in love with her within minutes. Me? I was the quiet one, the practical one, the kid who always had his nose in a book or a computer screen. But in our parents' eyes, she was golden. No matter what she did, it was praiseworthy. If she painted a half-decent picture in school, it was a masterpiece. If she got a passing grade in math, they threw her a damn party. Me? I could win first place in an academic competition, and all I'd get was a polite nod before they turned their attention back to her. It didn't take me long to realize I would always come second. But what hurt the most? I let it happen. I let them ignore me. I let them take my achievements and fold them into the Melanie show. And I told myself I didn't care. Until now. It started 5 years ago. I was miserable in my corporate job, tired of grinding away to make someone else rich. So I quit. I had no investors. No backup plan. Just an idea and a drive to make it work. So I did. I poured my soul into it. Spent sleepless nights coding, designing, pitching to investors who barely gave me the time of day. Then, finally, I made it. My startup, InnovateX, took off. Clients flooded in. I had built something real. And that's when my parents decided Melanie should be part of it. "Dean, your sister's looking for new opportunities," my father had said one evening. "Why don't you let her help out? She's got such a great mind for business." I should have said no. But I was still that little boy, starving for their approval. So I let her in. And at first, it was fine. She wasn't interested in the technical side of things, but she was good with people. She handled PR, made connections, brought in investors. But then, slowly, subtly, things shifted. People started seeing her as the face of the company, as if she had built it. I'd overhear conversations, investors praising her for her work, reporters crediting her for the company's success. And the worst part? She didn't correct them. She just smiled. The moment I truly understood the depth of it came 6 months ago. We had just landed a multi-million-dollar deal with a Fortune 500 company. The biggest contract of my career. I should have been ecstatic. Until I saw the press release. It had Melanie's name. Only Melanie's. I remember staring at the screen, feeling a hollow kind of numbness creep into my chest. I confronted her that night. "Why does everyone think you built this company?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She hesitated. "Dean, does it really matter?" I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. "Does it really matter?" She sighed. "It's just PR, okay? Investors like a strong, confident face." And you what? I cut in. "You let them erase me?" Her mouth opened, then closed. I didn't say anything else. I just walked away. And now here we were, at this party, surrounded by people who had come to celebrate her success. My success, packaged with a neat little bow and handed over to her. But I wasn't that quiet little kid anymore. I had worked too hard to be erased. And so, I looked my parents in the eye as I said, actually, that was all me. The silence in the room stretched so long it felt like the air had been esked out. I watched my mother's hand drop from Melanie's arm. My father cleared his throat. Dean, I think you're misunderstanding. No. I cut him off, voice calm but unwavering. I'm not. Melanie's face was unreadable. But then, finally she sighed. He's right, she said softly. Dean built it. Not me. Another murmur swept through the crowd. My parents looked like they'd been slapped. I set my drink down, turned, and walked out. I didn't care about the fallout. For the first time in my life, I had said enough. And it felt damn good. I walked out of the house, the cool night air hitting me like a slap. My heart was still hammering in my chest, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The murmurs inside the party hadn't stopped. I could hear them through the open patio doors. People whispering, glasses clinking awkwardly. My parents' voices, low, tense, trying to smooth things over. Typical. I should have been angry. Or hurt. But mostly, I felt free. I leaned against the railing of the patio, taking a deep breath. The distant hum of traffic, the rustling of trees, the occasional honk from the street. It was all so normal. Like the world hadn't just shifted under my feet. Then, footsteps. Soft, hesitant. Melanie. She stepped out, arms wrapped around herself, as if trying to make herself smaller. I didn't turn to look at her. A long silence stretched between us before she finally spoke. I should have said something sooner. I let out a breath of laughter, shaking my head. Yeah, you should have. More silence. Then, quietly, I don't know why I let it go on for so long. That made me turn. She looked guilty. Not just the surface-level guilt she used when she got caught sneaking out as a teenager, but real, deep guilt. I guess, she continued, voice barely above a whisper. I liked it. Being the one they were proud of. For once. For once. That stung. I clenched my jaw, turning back toward the street. You were always the one they were proud of, Mel. She flinched. Not like this. I didn't say anything. Because what was there to say? She had everything. Their love. Their attention. Their unwavering belief that she was special, gifted, extraordinary. And still, it hadn't been enough. The door opened again. I knew who it was before he spoke. Dean. My father. His voice was tight, controlled, too controlled. The way it always got when he was trying to mask his anger with reason. I exhaled slowly before turning to face him. He stepped out onto the patio, my mother right behind him. She was gripping the stem of her wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her from exploding. They didn't look happy. You embarrassed us in there, my mother said sharply, skipping past pleasantries. I laughed. A hollow, humorless sound. I embarrassed you. She set her glass down hard on the table. You made a scene. I stared at her, then at my father. And finally, I asked the question that had been sitting in my chest for years. Would you have ever corrected them? Silence. The kind that spoke volumes. Melanie swallowed. Mom. Dad. You do know he built the company, right? My mother shot her a sharp look. Of course we do. Then why? I said, stepping closer. Didn't you ever say it? My father sighed, rubbing his temple. Dean, it's not about, it is about that, I snapped. You knew the truth, and you let them believe a lie. My mother's lips thinned. It's not that simple. I scoffed. It's exactly that simple. The night stretched on. People were leaving the party now, slipping past us with awkward smiles, pretending they hadn't witnessed the moment everything cracked open. Melanie stayed quiet. My parents? They still didn't get it. Or maybe they did. And they just didn't care. But for the first time in my life, I did. And that changed everything. My father let out a slow breath, like he was trying to summon patience. I knew that look. It was the same one he gave whenever I was being difficult as a kid. Dean, he said, his voice measured, like he was speaking to an unreasonable child. This isn't how you handle things. Calling us out in front of everyone. Do you have any idea how that made us look? I stared at him. How it made them look. I let out a short, disbelieving laugh. That's what you care about? Not the fact that you just took everything I built and handed it to Melanie. His jaw tightened. No one handed her anything. She's worked hard. I held up a hand, cutting him off. Stop. Just stop. I was done. Done listening to excuses, done being made to feel like I was the one in the wrong. My mother, who had been quiet until now, crossed her arms. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? I turned to her, something cold settling in my chest. Because it is a big deal, Mom. I spent years building that company. Every late night, every rejection, every risk I took, it was mine. And you just erased me like I didn't even exist. She scoffed, shaking her head. You're being dramatic. That word, dramatic. They used it every time I stood up for myself. Every time I pushed back against the way they treated me. Something in me cracked. I stepped closer, my voice steady but firm. No, you just don't like that I finally said something. Silence. For a brief second, just a flicker, I saw it in her eyes. Guilt. But it was gone as fast as it appeared, buried under defensiveness and that same dismissive attitude she had perfected over the years. Melanie had been quiet this whole time, watching the back and forth like an outsider to her own crime scene. Then, finally, she spoke. He's right. The words were soft but cut through the tension like a cayenne fay. My parents both turned to her, my mother's brows pulling together. Melanie, no, Mom, she said, a little firmer this time. Dean's right. I didn't build the company. He did. And I should have corrected people when they gave me credit. She looked at me then, her expression unreadable. I was selfish. I liked the attention. And I let it happen. I wanted to feel relief at her admission. Validation. But all I felt was exhaustion. My mother scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. Oh, don't be ridiculous. You contributed. You brought in investors. You helped with branding. Those things matter too. My father nodded, stepping in to reinforce her point. Exactly. A company isn't just about the product, Dean. It's about relationships, perception. Melanie gave it a face. I let out a slow, measured breath, forcing myself to stay calm. And I gave it everything else. They didn't say anything to that, because they knew I was right. But instead of admitting it, my father shook his head, as if I was being unreasonable. This isn't something to ruin the family over, he said, as if that was the real issue here. Melanie looked away. I just stared at him. Ruin the family? Had I ever even been part of it? People were leaving now, slipping past us with uneasy glances. They knew better than to linger in the fallout. I saw my uncle near the door, awkwardly patting my father's shoulder before making a quick exit. My aunt gave my mother a tight-lipped smile, like she wanted to say something but thought better of it. They all knew. They had always known. But no one ever said anything. Because that's how my family worked. Sweep things under the rug. Pretend everything was fine. Except now? Now it wasn't. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just going to let it go. The night had shifted. The party was over, but the damage lingered like the smell of spilled wine and expensive perfume. The house, once filled with laughter and chatter, was now eerily quiet, except for the low hum of tension that sat thick in the air. Most of the guests had slipped away, muttering awkward goodbyes as they avoided looking directly at me. A few stragglers lingered, pretending not to eavesdrop as they nursed their drinks. Melanie stood beside me, silent, arms crossed over her chest. My parents? They still didn't get it. They were standing a few feet away, my mother looking exasperated, my father still trying to smooth everything over with empty words. Dean, he said, voice tight, this is getting out of hand. You proved your point. Can we move past this? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so damn predictable. Past this. I echoed. You think this is something we can just move past? My mother sighed, pressing her fingers against her temple like I was giving her a migraine. This whole thing is so unnecessary. It was a misunderstanding. I shook my head, heat rising in my chest. No, Mom. A misunderstanding is when you forget someone's birthday. This was deliberate. You let people believe that Melanie was responsible for everything I built. You encouraged it. She opened her mouth like she had a defense ready, but for once, she didn't speak. Because she couldn't. My father exhaled, stepping forward like he was about to deliver some grand, reasonable explanation that would make everything make sense. Look, son, he said, tone patient, too patient. We never meant to discredit you. But the truth is, perception matters. Investors, the media, clients, they see Melanie as the face of the company. That's not a bad thing. My jaw clenched. It is when it erases me. My father's mouth pressed into a thin line. He was losing his grip on the situation, and he knew it. But my mother? She wasn't ready to back down. Why does it matter so much to you? She snapped. You're successful, aren't you? You have everything you wanted. So what if people think Melanie helped more than she did? You both benefited from this. I stared at her. There it was. The truth. In their eyes, it didn't matter that they had stolen my credit, rewritten my achievements into Melanie's success story. Because to them, I didn't matter. Not as an individual. Not as a person who had worked his ass off to build something from the ground up. Just as a tool. A means to an end. And that was the final nail in the coffin. Melanie shifted beside me, clearing her throat. Mom. Dad. Her voice was soft, hesitant. But it was enough to make them turn toward her. She swallowed, then looked at them. Really looked at them. Like she was seeing them clearly for the first time. This isn't just about the company, she said. It's about him. About how you've always treated him. My mother rolled her eyes. Oh, don't start. Melanie frowned. No, Mom. You don't start. Not this time. That caught them off guard. She sighed, rubbing her arms like she was cold. Do you have any idea what it's been like growing up as the favorite? Knowing that no matter what I did, you'd be proud of me, but no matter what Dean did, it was never enough. I blinked. That was unexpected. She let out a small, shaky laugh. I always knew you loved me more. You never even tried to hide it. And I let it happen because it was easy. Because I didn't want to be on the other side of it. Her voice cracked slightly at the end. I swallowed, watching her carefully. Because for the first time in our lives, Melanie wasn't just the golden child standing on a pedestal. She was just Melanie. And maybe, just maybe, she finally understood what it was like to be me. My father pinched the bridge of his nose. My mother took a slow sip of wine, her face unreadable. Then, she sighed. All right, fine. You want an apology? Fine. We're sorry, Dean. It was robotic. Forced. Empty. A reflex. Like she was apologizing just to shut me up, not because she actually felt sorry. I let the words sit in the air for a moment, weighing them. And then I smiled. Not because I accepted it, but because I knew, at that moment, nothing would ever be the same again. I stood there, my mother's hollow apology hanging in the air like smoke after a fire. That was it. That was all they had to offer. After years of erasing me, diminishing me, rewriting my work into Melanie's success, the best they could muster was a forced, fine. We're sorry, Dean. I almost laughed. Because I knew they weren't sorry. Not really. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry I had called them out in front of everyone. And that wasn't something I could forgive. So I did what I should have done years ago. I let go. I turned to Melanie. Are you actually going to make this right? She swallowed, nodding. Yes, I should have done it a long time ago. Then do it. Melanie hesitated, glanced at our parents, then squared her shoulders and pulled out her phone. I watched as she typed, her fingers trembling slightly, and then, a moment later, she hit post. A second later, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw the notification from the company's official social media page. I need to clarify something. The success of InnovateX belongs to my brother, Dean. He built it from the ground up. Any credit I've received should have gone to him. I regret not speaking up sooner, but it's time the truth is known. I exhaled slowly. There it was. Public. Permanent. She had done it. And there was no taking it back. My mother's face paled. Melanie, what the HLL are you doing? Melanie didn't flinch. Telling the truth. My father's mouth pressed into a thin line. This is embarrassing, he muttered. People will talk. I smirked. Oh, they definitely will. He turned to me, frustrated. What do you want from us, Dean? Do you want us to throw you a damn parade? Would that make you feel better? I tilted my head, pretending to think about it. Actually, no, I don't want anything from you anymore. And that was the truth. For years, I had chased their approval, waited for the day they would finally see me, acknowledge me, be proud of me. But I didn't need it anymore. Because I had something better. I had my own success. And now, the world knew it, too. The fallout was immediate. By morning, Melanie's post had gone viral. People were talking. Articles were being written. Investors started asking questions. And my parents? They were mortified. Because their carefully constructed illusion, the one where Melanie was their golden child, the one they had built their reputation around, was crumbling. And there was nothing they could do to stop it. But here's the real kicker. The company didn't need Melanie. It never did. Investors didn't pull out. Clients didn't walk away. If anything, they were more interested in working with me now that they knew who was really behind the company. I thrived. And Melanie? She took a step back from the business. She stayed on in a smaller role, but she made it clear, both publicly and privately, that I was the one running the show. As for my parents, they tried to move on like nothing had happened. They invited me to family dinners, tried to smooth things over, but I never went. Not out of anger, just because. I didn't need to. For the first time in my life, I was free. And that was the best revenge of all.